So, as promised, it is now Monday. We're going on to chapter 2 of Reaper Adventures. Yeah, I did get that right. Okay. The search. Woot. Now I gotta find my page again. Damn it. Fuck. Oh, sorry. Just a disclaimer. This is the chapter with the scene of abuse. Do not bring your kids. Mature audiences only. No sex scenes granted. No curse words. Just a lot of blood and guts and violence and murder by a serial killer and demon and mention of self-harm. And as I stated, this is the chapter with the scene of abuse. Oh, and later on there will be a scene of torture, so please continue at your own risk if you ever want to. Anyway, chapter 2. Yay! And please forgive my voice. I have recently gotten over a cold. Not COVID. Cold. There's a difference. Major difference. Anyway. Chapter 2. Payne never noticed the 13-year-old auburn-haired, amber-eyed, pale-skinned girl. He wasn't the most social individual, even with his friends Scarlet, Victor, Kristoff, Clover, and Snow. Snow was really the only individual he spoke to, for the most part, and she had been Payne's friend since 6th grade. She had made friends with Clover, who had been friends with the temperamental and hard-to-like Scarlet. Victor and Kristoff had been accepted by Snow because they were new and labeled as outcasts when they arrived. All of Payne's friends, as well as Payne himself, were seniors in school and paid little attention to people in their grade. They certainly didn't pay any attention to people in grades below them. We all know how that is. Today was different, though. Today, Payne, Snow, Victor, Kristoff, Scarlet, and Clover were approached by a 13-year-old girl with long auburn hair, amber eyes, and pale skin. At first, they didn't notice her, until she spoke. "Which one is Payne?" the girl's voice asked, her quiet voice somehow demanding their attention. Scarlet, who was temporarily stunned into silence like the rest of them, snorted. "What's it to you?" Scarlet asked with annoyance. "I only wish to speak with the male who calls himself Payne," the girl said, her voice still quiet, but just as demanding as before. She turned her attention to Victor, Kristoff, and Payne. "Which one of you is Payne?" she questioned, the quiet patience in her voice slowly fading. Payne raised his hand with slight nervousness. The 13-year-old girl walked over to him, grabbed his wrist, and began to walk away, forcing Payne to follow her. Victor began to object and was instantly silenced by the girl's warning. "Claire, please forgive me, I need to take a drink." We all know the mental hilarity. As I am mentally hilarious, not crazy.
Facts.
Let me start that over. Victor began to object and was instantly silenced by the girl's warning glare. "I'll be okay," Payne told his highly confused and slightly nervous friends. He then reluctantly, yet willingly, followed the 13-year-old. She led Payne to a secluded and unpopulated spot. Payne looked at the perfect spot and turned his attention to the 7th grader, only she was no longer in front of him. Payne became instantly confused and looked around. He noticed the 7th grader behind him with a staff that was obviously a weapon. He registered that just as the 7th grader's mystery staff hit him above his left knee. Ouch. Ow, goddamn, that got hurt. Payne barely bit back his cry of pain as he unwillingly fell. His head hit the enclosed space's wall, and he collapsed in a crumpled heap on the floor. Payne couldn't help but groan. Couldn't help the groan and soft whimpers that escaped from his mouth. He struggled to stand, leaning on the wall, surprised that he hadn't left a blood stain. The 7th grader's staff embedded itself in the wall beside Payne's neck. She had angled it in a way so that if she twitched even slightly, Payne's neck would snap like a dry twig. "What the hell?" Payne asked, his voice only able to manage an angry whisper. So ignore the outburst, it's an angry whisper. The 7th grader studied Payne, her amber eyes cold. She didn't answer Payne as she stared at him. Slowly, though, the icy gaze became a surprised realization. "You have no idea, do you?" the 7th grader asked, mainly to herself than Payne. "I realize you can totally break my neck and you know how to fight," Payne said. The 7th grader looked at Payne, and then the mystery staff mysteriously vanished. "My apologies," the 7th grader apologized. I did not realize that you had no idea, she explained, mentally noting that Payne's leg had already healed itself. Apology accepted, but I think I'll take myself out of this genuinely humiliating scenario, Payne said and began to walk past the extremely odd 7th grader. She grabbed Payne's wrist, stopping him in his tracks. Payne looked at her, nervous and highly confused. This is not meant as a threat from me, she told Payne. They will stop at nothing until they find you and either eliminate you or have you wither and rot in whatever prison they have for you, she said, releasing Payne's wrist. Payne stared at the 7th grader warily, and then hurriedly left, not wanting to give her words any thought. I don't think I'd blame him for that, would you? I totally wouldn't. Forgive me for my stumbling over the words. As I said, I am recently over a cold. Let us continue. He couldn't help but dwell on what would have been a threat, though. She had obviously meant it as a warning for him, though, after she had nearly killed him. Payne was even more silent during the rest of the school day and lingered slightly behind his friends as they walked out of the school door. Bring into the school day, woohoo. Payne walked out of the school last and looked around the younger grades, hoping he wasn't being suspicious about it. Oh God. He noticed the 13-year-old girl waiting for someone. Payne quietly separated himself from his group of friends and walked over to her. She noticed Payne and studied him. Who are you waiting for? Payne asked her. She raised an eyebrow and seemed to debate if she should tell Payne who she was waiting for. Well, never mind then, Payne said with a shrug and began to head away. Wait, the 13-year-old said, her normal, quiet voice somehow still demanding attention. Payne stopped and looked at her over his shoulder. Why? Payne asked with a bored expression. I am waiting for my guardian, the 13-year-old reluctantly told Payne. If you want to, I will introduce you to him. Is he mean? Oh, she said. Sorry. Correction. I will introduce you to him, she said. It's not a good day for me. Shh. Is he mean? Payne questioned as he turned around to face the 7th grader. What? The 7th grader asked with confusion. No, he is not mean. He looks mean and scary, but he is very nice, unless you make him angry, she informed him. Payne was silent as he studied the 7th grader before him. Well, I guess I can wait with you, Payne said and walked back to her to stand beside her. He couldn't help but notice the 7th grader seemed slightly happy that someone was waiting with her. Where are your friends? Payne eventually asked the 13-year-old. I have none, she told Payne. Payne looked at her and noticed a large 30-year-old man with ice blue eyes, blonde hair pulled back into a Viking-style braid, and a beard and mustache that had some Viking-style accessories in it. He had pale skin, which definitely added to the Viking look. Payne couldn't help but notice that the man was not fat, but made of pure muscle. The parents who had arrived were giving the man a large berth and eyeing him with a combination of nervousness and jealousy. That is him, the 13-year-old told Payne, grabbing Payne's hand and running over to the large Viking-looking man. Drink. Let us continue. Wait, what? Payne asked, sudden fear leaping to his voice as he was unintentionally forced to follow the 7th grader. She reached the Viking-looking man, released Payne's wrist, and the Viking-looking man picked her up with ease, spun her around once, and then put her feet back on the ground. He then looked at Payne with suspicion clear in his ice blue eyes. The 13-year-old tugged on the Viking-looking man's sleeve. He leaned down until the 7th grader was finished telling him what Payne hoped was a good review. Ooh, good song. The Viking-looking man studied Payne again as he straightened. You waited with Meskenet? The Viking asked Payne. Payne quickly deciphered the man's thick accent. Yeah, I waited with her, Payne said. Her name is Meskenet? Payne asked. Yes, my name is Meskenet. Meskenet introduced. My name is Loki. Loki introduced himself as well. I'm Payne. P-A-Y-N-E. Payne told Loki. Loki looked at Meskenet and she blushed slightly. Payne glanced at Mescanet, and then Loki. Loki made a sound in the back of his throat, and stared at the back of Mescanet's head. "She wants to ask you something," Loki told Payne. "Will you wait with me after school?" Mescanet asked Payne, shooting Loki an embarrassed glare. "Huh?" Payne asked with confusion. Mescanet mumbled something Payne didn't understand and looked at Payne. "Will you wait with me after school?" Mescanet repeated. Payne was about to decline, and then remembered that Mescanet had said she had no friends. "Yeah, sure, I'll wait with you." "I'll see if I can get my friends to wait with you too," Payne told her. "Really?" Mescanet asked with surprise. "Yeah, I can't guarantee that my friends will wait with you too, but I'll see what I can do," Payne replied with a smile. "Please forgive." "Thank you," Mescanet said with a smile. "You're welcome. I'll see you two tomorrow," Payne told Loki and Mescanet with a wave, and then headed away to meet his friends at the bottom of the stairs. Yeah, wow, I'm speaking like Romanian bread over here, what the hell? Sorry. Payne ran the idea by his friends, and after some explaining, they agreed to wait with Mescanet with Payne. They reached the bottom of the stairs and went their separate ways. Payne waved bye to Snow and then felt his smile fade when the door to Snow's home closed. He was extremely tempted to knock on the door and ask if he could stay for the night. He knew he wouldn't be allowed to stay tonight. He hadn't asked Snow if he could, and it seemed as if they already had company. Payne walked away from Snow's home and felt the normal dread begin to settle in the pit of his stomach as he got closer to his home. Payne reached his home and reluctantly opened the front gate of the misleading white picket fence. Excuse me, I burped. Payne took a steadying breath and stepped onto the path, closing the gate behind him, comparing it to how a new prisoner might feel when the latch clicked shut. Not that Payne knew anything about that. He could really only imagine. Payne stared at the cheerful-looking house at the end of the path and resisted the urge to run. Instead, Payne took a steadying breath and went to the front door of his house. He tested the door and was surprised it was unlocked. His guardians were either feeling generous or extremely hateful. Payne was never sure which it was. He had never been able to tell. Payne quietly took his boots off and silently went to his room, carrying his boots to his room as he silently hoped that his guardians wouldn't notice his presence. His prayers went unanswered. His sister, who had adopted her parents' attitude towards Payne, opened her room door and saw Payne just as he was about to enter his room. "Raphael is back!" Linda shouted. Payne froze and turned his attention to his sister, who gave him a triumphant smirk before slamming the door shut. Payne knew he had only seconds before Linda's parents came rushing to him. Ooh, something happened on the screen. Linda's parents came rushing to him. He knew now that his guardians were not in a generous mood. Payne opened his room door and shut it, locking it behind him as Linda's mom, Karen, reached the top of the stairs. Payne put his boots on, put his backpack back on, and went to the window to escape. The window was nailed shut, giving Payne no escape. By now George, Linda's dad, had arrived at the door of Payne's room. Payne knew he had no other choice but to face his legal guardians. He lowered his hand from the forever closed window, reluctantly took his boots and backpack off again, and turned his attention to his room door. This is why these are rough drafts, because sometimes I miss little words here and there in the sentence. Sorry. He walked over to it and forced himself to unlock it. He knew they were waiting for him to open his door. Payne reached for the knob with a trembling hand and opened his door. George wasted no time entering Payne's room while Karen screamed at Payne, throwing accusations at Payne that Payne knew were false. George then commenced discipline Payne, though even George knew the accusations were false. George just felt like beating Payne until Payne couldn't hold back his whimpers as George's steel-toe boots continued to hit Payne. That's gotta hurt. Ow, I never actually thought about that, but that's gotta hurt like hell. Sorry. George was finally satisfied when Payne had tears in his eyes. Payne heard George and Karen finally leave his room. Payne eventually regained his breath, even though it still hurt, and slowly crawled onto his bed. Payne eventually felt his pain, ragged breathing, steady slightly, and then slowly moved to do his homework, gritting his teeth as the pain surged through him again. There's a lot of the words pain here, but they're spelled differently, and one is a name that he prefers, while the other is just the feeling of pain. Sorry, I didn't realize that while I was writing it. But we're almost done with chapter 2. Oh no. Payne was finished as night fell, and he curled in his bed, and after fighting through the pain, he fell asleep. As I said, that was indeed the chapter that had the abuse scene. I do apologize to any people who have had abuse like that. I did not exactly realize how painful it would sound to actually read that out loud. That sounds horrifying. Anyway, now we all know that chapter 2 is scene of abuse. I do apologize. Chapter 3 is probably the slasher horror, after effect of slasher horror violence, which probably is just as worse. But anyway, I'm just gonna say we have a Wattpad account, which is at Tempesta771, a TikTok account, which is at AirdrainCraven2, no spaces, no uppercases. It's under the name Tempest the Braveheart. No, I'm not explaining. Do not ask. I have an Instagram account, which is Tempest the Braveheart. No lower cases, no spaces. With the name Erdrin Craven, which is the same as my Facebook. If anyone's interested, don't expect me to honestly accept any friend requests if I don't know you in the first place. Sorry. Just kind of me, not you. I have a Snapchat account, which is Erdrin Craven. No uppercases, no spaces. And we are all watching my YouTube account. And anyway, now we are all gonna say goodbye and wait till next week. Wow. Sorry, my timing is way off. Wait till next week. And I will read chapter 3. As I said earlier, it is definitely not kid-friendly. Anyway, peace out, Girl Scouts, and enjoy the mental hilarity.